Hi, beautiful beings of light. It's Tiffany here. I hope that you're having a wonderful and lovely day. And if you need a little boost, may Source and your beautiful angelic guides send you lots of love, lots of light, and embracing you in such warmth, in such joy and love. In today's video, speaking about angel guides and spirit guides, I want to speak more about some ways that you might be aware of or not that you are using to connect with your interdimensional guides, or what we call spirit guides. Most of our guides are interdimensional because they are either from another dimension, like a dragon from the elemental realm, or maybe you're connecting with an angel from the angelic realm, or a galactic guide that is in the 7th dimension or 9th dimension or other dimensions. So in this video, let us talk about the 8 ways to connect with our interdimensional guides. Number 1 is through channeling. So channeling in itself started off with a type of mindfulness meditation. And so a lot of us, right, when we first awakened, we were introduced to mindfulness and body scan quite often. This was like a precursor of going into a deeper state of trance meditation, where you are able to connect with your guides through this method called channeling. There are also different types of channeling as well. There's some channelings where a person's eyes is open, like Abraham Hicks. When she channels, she is channeling through her voice or speech with her eyes open. Her consciousness is connected with a part of her higher self to bring forth a flow. Some people, when they channel, they have their eyes closed, and they either receive visions or hear things, or they feel things through the clear abilities. There's clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentient, and so forth. So channeling in itself, it's like calling your higher guide with this spiritual cell phone, and you're creating that connection with your guide to connect with them, to communicate with them. And anyone can do this. Everyone has spirit guides, everyone has guardian angels to work with. So that's usually the most common method that people use to connect more directly with their guides. The second way is telepathy, and I've worked with a lot of people who are claircognizant, and that their guide speaks to them through thought forms. Now, thought forms can be very subtle, but very efficient, because in 1 second, your guide can communicate with you 10 sentences at the same time. So sometimes I find that claircognizance, you guys would doubt yourself and think that you're not connected to your guides, but it's just that they're more telepathic, and sometimes it's so subtle, and we are so sometimes distracted in the human realm that we think that we are disconnected. But in a way, your guides are connecting with you with these downloads, right? It's like a USB port plugged into you, and then you get all these ideas, you got all these realization, insights, and so your guides can definitely connect with you telepathically. Within the umbrella of telepathy, there's also subtle differences in connection as well. There's an innate connection, for example, telepathy between twin flames. There's also telepathy between loved ones, like for example, mother and daughter. There's also telepathy that is based on consent or soul contract. So before you incarnate into this physical body, if you have an agreement with, let's say, your Pleiadian sister, for example, for them to connect with you, there is a link, there's an agreement there where they can connect with you through your thought form. So that's the second way. The third way is through your heart, and many of you know that your heart is your message center, is your quantum receiver. And so a lot of clairsentients, what they can do is connect to their guides through their heart. Now the heart itself communicates mostly through sensation and the feeling of expansion, love, and sometimes this warmth or cooling energy depending on the person. So when our heart is open, we are able to connect with our guides much more easier. And I really love the story about Jesus after he has resurrected and he returned to his apostles. He was asking them questions like, do you love me? Do you trust me? Right? These are questions that in a way I feel that he is in himself trying to facilitate his apostle to be more open, more devoted, more trustful towards his words. Because he realized that when he told some of his apostles that he will resurrect in 3 days, even they still not fully believe in their masters. And so in a way, I feel that in that part of Jesus' teaching, of course, it's multi-layered, but he's really trying to always in his message, letting us and reminding us to open our hearts, not only to the environment, to the animals, to each other, but also towards the higher power, the higher source. And so your heart is a beautiful message center where you can feel and connect with your higher or interdimensional guides. And usually they will connect with you more through the heart first, just like a soft, gentle introduction that you feel this is the amount of love that you can feel. And in a lot of sessions when we do channeling with guides, we're just in awe sitting there because we're like, how do you even describe this feeling? There's no words for it. You can only feel it. The fourth way is communion. And communion, I find I see this happening a lot in energy healing, or sometimes when I'm channeling light codes, I'll go through a lot of communion. And sometimes when I do light language as well. So communion and channeling is a little bit different. In channeling, it's still like dialing in, right? Attuning and connecting. Whereas communion, it's almost like you energetically becoming one with that guide. So for example, if I am attuning myself to a celestial white dragon's energy to bring forth that frequency of healing light language, I would go through a process of communion with my celestial white dragon guide. And so in that way, part of myself almost like melt and disappear from this realm where I can just feel myself becoming one through a spiritual sense with that spirit guide. Now, mind you, any type of connection with a guide should be done safely, right? Consciously and intentionally so that you're connecting to the right source. But I fully trust my celestial white dragon because I worked with it for a very long time. And I only ever feel power, the celestial energy, and love from this guide. So communion is a way that's really powerful when we can commune with our higher selves or our higher dimensional self. For example, my Arcturian self, she is very graceful when she speaks a lot of time. And so sometimes when I'm doing videos or when I'm teaching a class, I would commune with that part of my consciousness through my higher self and embody more of her energy. So even now, if you've been watching a lot of my videos, you see me sometimes more giggly, more like my human self. And other times, like now in this video, I'm more attuned, commune to my higher self. And thus I have a different energy that I express in this video. So that's communion, is becoming one energetically. And so in energetic healing sessions, sometimes what I would do is not even heal through the perspective of Tiffany, but to heal from the Arcturian higher self perspective, where my third dimensional self steps aside and letting my higher Arcturian self commune and move through the energetic quantum field as her, because she has a much stronger energy connection to source than sometimes I do, right? So we commune with the higher dimensional selves to help these spiritual gifts and healing flow a lot more easier. The fifth way is called mind meld. And mind meld is when you actually create a psychic, almost emotional connection to one of your interdimensional guides. In the process of mind melding, it is really a very trustful bond, once again, with your higher dimensional guides or your higher dimensional selves. Usually they will bring you, and I find that I did this through my astral body or light body. I haven't really done it physically in person. And so what I remember is working with one of my inner earth guide, and I do remember having a parallel timeline in the inner earth. And so there's a connection there already through my soul. And I found my mentor, right, Mahareya. And through Mahareya, we did like a light body or astral body mind meld, where I connected with her field. And it's very hard to describe, like instantaneously you feel an exchange of energy with one another. Like you get to feel what she's feeling, and she gets to also see what you're feeling. In a way, it's kind of very telepathic at the same time, because ever since the mind meld, I can connect with her with much more clarity. There's less blockage in the flow when I am channeling her message after the mind meld. Now, given said that, with the mind meld, she also gets to know a lot of my shadows and things that I struggle with, because it has that emotional connection as well. So I remember after the mind meld, when I was working with her, sometimes she would be there to help me do my shadow work, and I would just be lying there, astral project into the inner earth, and I would be like, Mahareya, girl needs some help here. And she will hold space for me, and she becomes a healer to guide me to release some of the stuckness in my shadows. Number 6 is through implants. So implants is a very big topic. I'm not going to go into it too much in this video. I've talked about them in my previous videos. And so a lot of people, when they hear the word implants, they get freaked out right away. But stay with me for a second. There are implants that are from the negative beings. A lot of times, sometimes through entity attachment, sometimes through some past life wounds, or other times through abduction. Sometimes it can be done through the physical sense, but other times they can also do some type of abduction more towards the ethereal level. It's very interesting. So you can have these bad implants that were first put into a person to basically track them. And other times can also make them more susceptible to the spells that they cast on certain days, or when they release these MK Ultra frequency. Now granted, now these effects are really greatly diminishing because of the ascension energies from the stargates. So I don't want you to freak out, because the light is here. The light is purifying these things. But it's good for us to know, because we want to be wise light workers. We don't want to be naive light workers. So that's how I look at it. I'm like, if it's the truth, if it's happening, even if it's painful and dark, we have to know it. Like, we have to be smart and we have to be wise. So what happens then is that the Galactic Federation, or maybe your Starseed family, like your Pleiadians or Arcturian family, right, would find these out, and sometimes they will reattune the implant to their frequency instead. So instead of you getting tagged or tracked, the implant can be used to communicate with your star family. Other types of implants are put in by your higher dimensional guides, for example, your 9th dimensional Pleiadian guides, and these implants doesn't hurt at all. They were put in, right, with care, with love, to make sure that there's no pain, but then you can still connect with them very easily. So this is kind of like an unconventional way to connect with your guides, but I have an implant kind of behind the ear here. And sometimes what I do in session is, when I have a hard time connecting with that person's guide, I use my implants, which is connected to the Arcturians, and attuned to a few other guides too. Like you have to choose. It's attuned to Eliza. So I've shared with you the story of Eliza. Number 7 is signs. So signs usually come through in a way where you connect with your guides, but you might not get something right away. And then like two hours later, you all of a sudden get like activation, and you get a message to look to your side and you see an angel number. Other times, maybe you hear a title of a book that you own, and then they tell you to go to a certain page and look under a certain paragraph, and you see the answer you've been looking for in that book. So these are like little signs, little synchronicities that you experience in your current dimension that your guide has helped you manifest it together in a more tangible sense. So signs are very validating, right, for us as well. So this is definitely a sign to watch out for when you're connecting with your guides. And finally, number 8 is summoning. So again, when people first hear the word summoning, they go into this programming of what the mainstream media want us to think. It's like, oh, you draw a circle and you summon like a demon or something. And that's not what we are doing here. Leave that to the dark ones. If they want to do with that, that's great. But we want to invoke light beings to come work with us. Summoning is actually, I would say, out of all of this, quite advanced. So if you are brand new to spirituality and brand new to channeling, I would not touch summoning just yet. Wait until you're more masterful and skillful and comfortable with your channeling abilities before trying out summoning. So summoning is a little bit, I could do a whole other video on summoning, but I'll share you a story to just help you understand how this can work. The other day I went out to do an offering, of like these dry flowers to the lake, and at this time when I'm making this video, we're going through this collective shift right now. There's still a lot of things going on in the collective consciousness, and so I went out to nature. And I'm innately an elemental soul, so this came pretty easy for me, working with the elements and elementals. And then I felt a calling to call forth a celestial dragon. I don't know why it just came into my thought. Maybe it's telepathy from a guide. So then I faced a lake, and then I started singing light language. And as I'm singing the light language, I was crying in a good way. I felt so at home. I was just calling and invocating for the celestial dragon to come forth to please help Earth. I also sang the light language to honor the elementals, the fairies, the beautiful unicorns, and other elemental beings like the undins, to thank them for the work that they are doing to help us, even though most of us cannot see with the physical eyes. And so I finished chanting the summoning. I bowed a few times for gratitude. And the next day, one of the people that I follow on Twitter, and his name is Cam, and he's a Pleiadian Starseed, and he sells crystal. And I was buying some crystal with him, and he mentioned dragon heads a while ago in his store. Like, oh, I have some dragon heads coming in, crystal dragon heads. And so just, randomly I just say, oh yeah, well, let me know when the dragon heads are in. And then he sent back and say, oh, I have them in. I'm going to send it to you before I post them. And so he sent the pictures to me, and I saw it, and I'm like, oh, this one. So it literally manifested in the physical realm, you guys. I was summoning with light language, right? Honoring, thanking the elementals. And the next day, boom, a physical dragon crystal. And it was Caribbean calcite, my favorite color. So I'm like, okay, whoa, so cool. So I can't wait to receive that crystal dragon head and work with it and channel with it. And I know it is a guardian because that's who I summoned. So once I learn more about that, I will share with you guys in another video. So another thing to remember about summoning is you have to have a very high mastery level, a high mastery level of light language. You need to have a high mastery level of channeling. You need to have a soul-to-soul connection with these beings at a very clear level. And you need to be able to have activations done. You need to be able to bring forth light codes. You need to activate your portal keeper light codes. You need to learn how to link in with the stargates to summon a being. And this has to do with a lot of honor and a lot of trust. It's not just like a fun thing that you do. Can you imagine if you're a dragon and all of a sudden someone just like disrespectfully summon you, you'd be like, yeah, I'm not coming. So it takes time, and that's why I put it last, because it takes a lot of advanced mastery. If you've enjoyed connecting with your spirit guides and enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up as a way of support. And in the comment section, let me know what are some ways that you tend to connect with your guides. I would love to hear from you. Everyone here is so beautiful, and I love our interactions. If you need more support in terms of channeling, I have lots of resources, lots of free videos on YouTube, free courses on my website, and some that are paid with a bit more advanced level and deeper support, from channeling divine messages with spirit guides to bringers of light, light language activation, and High Priestess Ascension Academy, where we dive deeper into a comprehensive training for you to become a master level healer. I also offer private sessions as well. So lots and lots of support for all ranges of affordability. So thank you so much for allowing me to serve you today. Sending you much love, much light. I honor you. Sending you lots of love. Now go out there, shine your light and work your magic. See you guys in the next video. Bye.